So guys, let's return to this green candle in the end of the video, and let's start from the news and let's see what happened in the field of the cryptocurrency. So this is a not so bad, I would say, actually quite bullish stuff. Now you can buy Bitcoin at some grocery stores in the United States. So they will place these ATM units, the sort of machines where you can buy coins, not only Bitcoins. And in fact, last year the number of similar machines increased probably like, well, I don't remember exactly the numbers, but significantly, at least like twice or 3 or 4 times. I'm not sure, but anyway, despite the fall of the price of Bitcoin, the drop, still there is quite of the demand, and the business brings some profits. So now we have more of them, even in the grocery stores, so not so bad. Another news which is not that bullish, and this is about the ETF. Crypto analyst Brian Kelly no shot for Bitcoin ETF 2019. So basically what he said on CNBC is that with the current state of the market, crypto market, we don't have a chance with all this manipulations, low liquidity and everything. We don't have a chance to be ETF being approved in 2019. Maybe 2019 will be better in terms of the environment for crypto in general than 2018 and results and achievements, but still the major approvals that like Bitcoin ETFs will be not in this year, maybe next, but at least not in this year. Well, who knows, maybe he's right, but there are counter arguments, and we'll see actually within a little bit more than a month, on February 24th, I remember. So another news, and if you actually see, this is from Cointelegraph, this is from CoinDesk, and this one is from Forbes. And this news is about that the Binance exchange, which was launched in Europe with the use of the fiat pair with Bitcoin and Ethereum, you can basically have your fiat gateway with Binance now. And Binance reported of the huge demand of their this exchange, and a lot of the accounts attempts to be opened, and they basically now have to maintain all the requests and everything, so process all of them. So it means that indeed the demand is crazy, and well, you may refer to this as a result of some problems with the European and UK economies, but in generally it basically reflection of the fact that you'd have to have at least two, like one pair of exchanges, one for have your fiat gateway. In the United States, Coinbase; if you're in Europe, Bittrex probably or something, and for the altcoins, you'd probably prefer to use Binance. And now you have everything in one set basically, so you would prefer to do that. Well, great news actually. So it means still crypto is alive, right? Another thing is that again from the Forbes, this is the article which basically is highlighting the main ideas about the blockchain, what it is and what are the preferences, the advantages, and why it is better than the current financial system, and yada yada yada, and why Bitcoin is here to stay, and so on. The thing is, why such articles are appeared on Forbes when basically it's well-known thing already in the field? The only answer is it may happen only for make newcomers to be familiar with the data. So if you're just heard somebody told you, or you're somehow stumbled over the Bitcoin investment opportunity, you're thinking, okay, I need to know what is that, and you look at the media and you find the articles, or all of them are old, and now you see the Forbes very new article. What you will see, okay, of course you will refer to that, and that is how they are expecting. You may just, of course it's speculation, but may expect the newcomers are entering the field. So again, not that bad, and in general it's a nice article about the fact that blockchain is great. Okay, next news is about the new attempt of the huge institutions like MIT, Stanford, and I think it was Berkeley. They are about to make a new cryptocurrency based on a new blockchain called Unit E. And what they want to do is they want to make it much better, with better scalability than Bitcoin, and have faster transactions, faster than even Visa. And they have like a huge group of people with like brightest brains and everything. And yeah, you may think that okay, that will be the new technology, the best cryptocurrency, but in my opinion, it is always there are always some trade-offs. So currently, if there is no new technology, like fundamentally new than the blockchain, or at least the the most advanced blockchain technology, which is basically Bitcoin, is pretty much at the edge of things. So without that, you would not be able to reach certain better parameters like even TPS or something, or scalability or whatever you think of, without sacrificing other things like security, or whatever you may think of, censorship resistance. So I guess that they may indeed make a nice blockchain and have some interesting solutions, but I doubt that it will be something revolutionary, although we'll see. It's interesting, and indeed it will bring some new steam in the field. And also it says David Chaum, a pioneer of virtual currencies, is also working on a new platform that would allow digital money to be traded more quickly. We'll see. Interesting stuff. And now let's look at the news. Sorry, not the news already. Finish with the news. Now let's look at the price and what we had so far. And basically, it didn't change much, but what we had so far is we were continuing to be trading within the corridor, and I was continuing to like adjusting this triangle. So finally, a few hours ago, this triangle was broken. In fact, we have again very sharp rise, so this Bart Simpson patterns, and it's nothing organic in my opinion. So it's just again somebody moved the price where it should be according to their preferences, and indeed this was much high, well, not that much, but reasonably higher than the previous high around here. So you may imagine that a lot of stops in this area, so they were collected by this move, and from that point it's actually really hard to think of the next move out to the upside. This was really the simplest level to think of, because now when you continue to think of the possible move upwards, you think, okay, where can it go? Can it go, for example, higher than 3,900? Well, sort of, but again, on the way there are so many other small levels, and this one as well, and so on. So it's really hard to find the area with the most the biggest liquidity accumulated, because when you are thinking about the price going somewhere, you always have to consider it from the standpoint of the huge players, which are trying to collect the best liquidity, the biggest liquidity in the market. And currently, from the upside, the biggest liquidity is at least above $4,100. Below that, there are so many small levels which basically like if you would, for example, you yourself, you would want to open a short position, you would have to have a stop order somewhere. Where will you put it? It's really hard. You will probably have to put it at least somewhere around this area. So when you open a long position, it's much easier. This is the level which you can think of, or this is the level you can think of, or at least this one. But you have like the plethora of the choices. For the opening short position is much harder, which means that in order to collect all the stop orders, you have to go at least above $4,100 from the point of view of the price manipulators. And this is quite of the move. So in my personal opinion, now they either have a choice to push indeed the price so high, or they have to go back and go push the price lower. I tend to think that it's harder to push the price lower, so probably we are more likely to collect this area first, and then, well, we'll see what will happen. In fact, such move when we had the low point and then some rally upwards, then return to the quite of the low after that, and then we may have a correction upwards, maybe even making a higher high somewhere to 4,500, and everything is now on Coinbase, is really possible. And it would lead me to the analysis which I would like to share with you guys. And one of them is from Murad Mahmudov. He is quite of the Bitcoin maximalist. What he said, he actually had a lot of the analysis put in one place about the historical. You can see, for example, with this gem, well, it doesn't open. Why? I don't know. Let's see. Something with my internet, I guess. Well, what I was going to say, let me refresh this page, is that he put a lot of the efforts in this analysis, and in fact it is actually quite of the work being done. And for example, this one is a part of that. So you can see how he adjusted everything, all like timings and price changes, the averaging and everything. So he did a lot of the math here. So in principle, what he said is that well, based on all this data, has a huge thread, you can refer to that. So based on all this data, he said that we didn't reach the bottom yet, and still we had to go lower from this point, maybe to the full complete capitulation would be somewhere around like 1,800 or something like that, and then we have a sideways price action for a while, and after that we'll have a finally recovery to the bull market. So there are counter arguments to that, and if you would continue to these counter arguments, I can show you some of them, which are in my, sorry, I need to go to my Twitter page, so which I actually highlighted there. So what you would need to consider is, you may think of first, for example, things like moving averages, and he didn't really, well, he did mention them, but not to the full scale, I would say. So moving averages, or for example this thing, so you may think of the fact that bottom was actually made already, and you may have this sort of fractalic behavior, and in fact those trend lines are showing that we already made this bottom. So there is nothing crazy about that. Another way of thinking is, again, 200 week moving averages, which is quite stronger, quite as strong of the signal indicator, and currently it was served around here and here as a support, and now we have it around here. So breaking down so much below the 200 week moving average is a bit crazy thought, but again, there are counter arguments to that as well. But in fact, Murad himself, he said that all of this works if and only if history does indeed rhyme. So it's not, and which is a big if, he said. But anyway, if it is correct, then we can expect the bottom at 1700, 2200 in the spring, most likely April. And similar analysis was made by David the Wave. He basically drew this logarithmic chart with some sort of not exponential, parabolic line, which enveloping the points around here and here, and he pointed out that probably the next point to touch at the bottom will be at least somewhere around $2,000, and we didn't reach it yet. He mentioned some discrepancies, but still it's just analysis, right? So those ideas are sort of common, and you may think of that based on them and consider them as some standpoints, like some crucial points to start your thought process. And but just don't think that we already are sure that we're already there, like the bottom was set. It's not clear at all. And in fact, speaking about this current behavior of the price, like this going up, down, and then maybe up again, what I was going to mention is that if we will look at the price of the 2014 and 2015, then you can see that, for example, right now, again comparing to the previous 14th, 15th year, right now we don't have much of the volume around this area, and we have a declining volume around here. So if we will return to 2015 and 14th, then we will see that at the place of the bottom of this area we had very similar situation, not exactly at the bottom but before the bottom. Actually, Murad was referring to this area as similar to ours. I would say this is more similar to ours, and what we saw here is that we almost have the same picture as we had right now. I mean, in end of 2018, so we had quite of the rally down, and then we have a correction up, and then return back not to the previous low but somewhere higher, so we make a higher low, and then we return to the growth trend, at least local growth trend, make a higher high. So these two higher highs, well, like one higher high before this one and then higher low, is quite of the bullish trend. And in fact, you may think that, okay, we reached the bottom, we now are going to go to the maybe sideways, maybe go to the upside, but at least will not go any lower. However, if you will compare again the price at the volume at this area and here, it's completely different. And here actually, if you'll compare it to the overall, not compare but see an overall exchange, it's pretty much the Gaussian distribution right here. So basically a lot of the price action was happening in this area, and basically those players who are trying to push the price down, they understood that, okay, it's really hard and a lot of the buying activity in this field, so we don't want to let too many people to buy, and we want to basically move the price higher from now on because we already loaded quite a lot. So the same thing which was here may happen right now in 2019. So we may go up from the 3,200 and then correct it as we did. Now if we'll go up, and this point would be like $4,500, $5,000, then we may have a more like higher, stronger downwards movement from that point again to 2,000 or 1,000 something, like few $100s. It's really likely. However, as I already showed you before, well, we are not sure, we are not clear about that. It's really on the wheel of those people who are driving the market. Okay, so in my personal opinion, still I'm remaining, I'm having the same position as I had yesterday, as I showed you yesterday. While technically market looks pretty much bearish, especially considering all the things which I just told you, people would not want to go long as soon as we do not go like generally $6,000, something like that. So even the rally up to $5,000 would not confirm the bullish trend, while maybe the much higher volume would. But again, history is not necessarily to repeat itself, and what I would consider is I would have enough funds to buy to the lower low, but right now I already loaded at some point and some different levels. I can just fix my profits when the price go high, and I will load more if the price will go low. That's it, guys, for today. Hope it was useful. If it was, please continue watching tomorrow, as those updates are made daily. And safe trading, guys. Thank you for watching again. See you.